The following program is sponsored by CBN.
Today, the last words from a Holocaust victim.
Never let hatred enter your heart.
And the legacy of one survivor.
I dedicate my whole life to keep alive the memory of the Holocaust.
Her story of life through death.
I was lying surrounded by corpses.
And forgiveness.
Follow the path of love.
On today's 700 Club.
Well, welcome, folks. The polar vortex has hit 20 degrees below zero in Chicago. And when the wind blows off the lake, it feels like 50 degrees below zero.
Man, that's cold. Well, the brutally cold weather is putting millions of people at risk. 85% of the country is facing temperatures at or below freezing. Charlene Aaron has more.
The Arctic winter cold is tightening its grip on the upper plains and Midwest, seeing the coldest temperatures in decades. In some places, possibly the coldest in recorded history.
Take a look at this Arctic blast and where we'll see temperatures running about 20 to 40 degrees below normal for this time of year. And it's normally cold up into the Great Lakes and into Ohio, the Ohio Valley, back into the Midwest. But we're running 20 to 40 degrees below normal for this time of year.
Schools and offices are closed, and even the U.S. Postal Service has suspended mail delivery in 11 states. Lakes and rivers frozen solid. Ice and snow wreaking havoc on the roads.
Reported multiple semis, at least 10 vehicles involved.
Can't predict where you're going to slide.
In Chicago, the frigid cold paralyzing railroad tracks, forcing Amtrak to cancel all services in the city. It's so cold that city officials had to set train tracks on fire to keep the metal from contracting.
Yeah, this is just really cold.
Authorities warning drivers be prepared.
I would suggest getting a blanket, extra set of clothing, maybe an alternative battery source for your phone.
In North Dakota, temperatures plunged as low as minus 26, with wind chills as low as minus 62. It's going to get worse tonight.
We've got the record-challenging cold for the overnight hours. Milwaukee, our forecast is minus 20. The record was minus 15, set way back in 1899.
Governors in several states declaring emergencies. In a desperate attempt to get the homeless off the streets, Chicago is turning buses into makeshift warming centers. Emergency rooms are seeing an increase in cases of frostbite and bracing for more in the days to come. Officials are warning residents to not only bundle up, but to consider not going out at all until the dangerous temperatures pass. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
You know, there are some who think that global warming is the main threat to our society. They need to go to Chicago. Well, Joe Bastardi is chief meteorologist for Weather Bell Analytics. Joe's with us now. Joe, you predicted it. Did you think it was going to get this cold, buddy?
Well, we in the preseason, we were talking about the idea for extremes. By the way, it's so cold, I've pulled out the sweater vest. So I'm not wearing a suit today because I think the sweater vest gives a warmer presentation, so to speak. But in any case, the cold, look, folks, the weather is a movie. The problem is if you just walk in a snapshot, you don't understand what happened before. This has been setting itself up for quite some time. As a matter of fact, back in the preseason, back in August, we were talking about the threat of extremes this winter overall because of what we saw lining up. And in early December, there was an event that started occurring that telegraphed this. The same kind of thing happened. There was an event that went on, believe it or not, in the Indian Ocean. We call it the Madden-Julian Oscillation. It set off a stratospheric warming event. We saw that happen in 1965 in late December. It happened late December of 84 and 93. Guess what happened a month after that? Well, the blizzard of 66 in the east where the polar vortex went in over New York State. 1985, the Ronald Reagan inaugural outbreak, Chicago's coldest ever, minus 27. This is very similar to that. And, of course, the 1994 outbreak, the last time time it hit minus 20 in Chicago. So you see, all this was setting up before, and it actually points to what's going to be going on in the future here over the next couple of months. We're going to get what we call a bounce back warm up, and then the cold is going to start pressing again in February into March. Even though the southeast is going to be warm for the first 10 days or so of February after we get rid of this cold, much of the United States is going to suffer well into March this year with a lot of cold and a lot of snow. At least that's my opinion.
What about this whole thing about global warming? Does this have anything to do with all this natural fossil fuel polluting the atmosphere or any of that stuff?
Well, I don't believe that. First of all, CO2, in my opinion, is not a pollutant. You exhale and I exhale 100 times more CO2 than we inhale. In fact, plants love that. I was walking by a tree the other day. It started hugging me because of the CO2 that's coming out of my mouth, but among other things. But the fact is that if you've got to ask yourself a question. If in 1985 it got this cold, or there are other extremes that occurred before, how did they occur, and why were they being caused by natural causes, and why is this not a natural cause? Look, if you go back and look at the weather and see what the weather's done in the majesty of the atmosphere, you realize how small humans are compared to that, and we probably have very, 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 very little to do with it.
What about the talk about sunspot, that there are less sunspots? Does that have any effect on our weather?
I think in the long term, it may have some effect. But look, these people, that's the other thing. Oh, well, this is a sign of a little ice age. The little ice age, and we've been pulling out this since the 1700s and early 1800s, there were 200 years of a lack of sunspot activity, okay, that went into that. So what happens is we've had 200 years of high sunspot activity. If you want to play the solar card, where's the energy from that stored? Likely in the oceans. The oceans have 99.9% of the thermal capacity of the atmosphere, folks. So they are really, in the shorter term, on the order of decades, controlling the shooting match. The oceans are cyclically warm now, pumps extra water vapor in the air, and what happens? You get the weather to do what the weather's doing. This is all part of nature. And what's fascinating is Dr. William Gray, the late Dr. William Gray, the hurricane expert, predicted this stuff to happen back in the 70s. I haven't read a book my dad gave me in 1963. I was 8 years old. My dad's a meteorologist. He wanted to push me toward meteorology. Talking about natural climate change, I am watching this happen right in front of my eyes. It's nature at work. Whether man has something to do with it or not, how could you tell given what's happened before?
Well, you don't turn down your industry then, and you don't join the Tokyo or other conglomerate that wants to limit America's industrial capacity then. That's not a factor. I wouldn't do that, especially if you look, the real hockey sticks of the fossil fuel era are the increase in life expectancy, the amount of people on the planet, and personal wealth has gone up. The fact is, life was short and brutal before the fossil fuel age, and a lot of folks today, look, I respect people's opinions, I understand, I don't have a monopoly on tomorrow, but a lot of the things you're able to see today are because of what happened yesterday, what got us here today. Not everything is horrible that happened yesterday, including the fossil fuel era. You know, I believe that if we were really serious about this thing, we'd be going more toward nuclear power. It's not Jane Fonda China syndrome anymore, folks. This is the United States in 2018. If you want to take this out of the air, you want to have a big argument about it, try to go more nuclear. We could cut down on these other things and make it a moot point. Hey, Joe, one last question. With 3 more months of winter left, what do you see coming?
Well, I see a very cold February and March for most of the United States. I think down there at Virginia Beach, February 15th to March 14th is going to be very cold and stormy down there. The Southeast will get a break here over the next 8 to 10 days. Very, very cold air pours into the central western part of the United States next week and starts forcing the issue further south and east. We've got this bounce back warm up, we call it. It actually happened last time the so-called polar vortex, I call it Colmageddon, okay, because it's stronger than the old polar vortex back in 14. It was 48 in Chicago 5 days after it was minus 16. You're going to see the same kind of warm up, but then cold air pushes again, folks, and is going to dominate the weather pattern much of February to March. At least that's what I think. I could be wrong. We're going to find out.
All right, Joe, you're terrific. Thanks. Come back, please. We'd love to hear from you. Joe Bastardi, what do you think of that?
You invite me back, I'll be back.
All right, good.
Well, I thought it was funny that the tree hugged him, and I can believe it. He's a funny guy.
He really.
But he makes a lot of sense.
Well, he said, "Get your skis out for skiing on Mount Trashmore." He told us this was going to happen, though, because of what he's noticed in the oceans, and he saw the trend coming.
Yeah.
So it isn't a little ice age, and it's not global warming, and all this business. We want to control our industry. That's nothing but a massive socialist concept to limit America's production. That's all that amounts to. I know people think, well, global warming is such a big deal. Listen to Joe Bastardi. He knows what he's talking about. And he said that human beings, their burning of fossil fuel is a minuscule thing in relation to the overall. I think the sunspots are the big deal, and the sunspot activity has been very reduced, but it may take a long while. Well, all he's saying is it's going to get warmer in Chicago in another few weeks, and it's going to get cold as the dickens right after that, so we'll see what happens. Well, in other news, China and Russia are growing threats on the cyber war battlefield. John Jessup has more on that story from our CBN News Bureau. Here's John.
That's right, Pat. Russia and China are capable of launching cyber attacks that could disrupt electric grids and gas pipelines in the United States. That's according to a worldwide threat assessment the U.S. intelligence community delivered to Congress. The report says China has the ability to launch cyber attacks that cause localized, temporary disruptive effects on critical infrastructure, such as disruption of a natural gas pipeline for days to weeks right here in the United States. The report also says Moscow is staging cyber attack assets to disrupt or damage U.S. civilian and military infrastructure during a crisis. In those same hearings, National Intelligence Director Dan Coats warned that North Korea and ISIS are still viable threats to the nation. Coats said despite North Korea's pledge to get rid of nuclear weapons, the rogue nation is unlikely to dismantle its arsenal. Turning to the Middle East, Coats said despite incurring great setbacks, ISIS is still a deadly terrorist threat.
While ISIS is nearing territorial defeat in Iraq and Syria, the group has returned to its guerrilla warfare roots while continuing to plot attacks and direct its supporters worldwide.
And that intelligence agencies deliver that threat report each year to Congress. Pat?
You know, I have said on this program, and I'll say it again, our critical infrastructure is at risk. We must harden the grid. It's not going to cost but a few $1 billion. But what we're looking at is a major problem. If there is a thermonuclear explosion in the atmosphere, it can fry all the electrical connections all across the country. We're looking at cyber threats that will cut off the power grid. Why not do something about it now? All this talk about the wall and everything, it's nice, but it doesn't hold a candle to the threat that we're facing. And also, it's interesting, these intelligence people were saying things that apparently contradicted the president. And they said ISIS really isn't all that bad. And he said they're defeated, and the intelligence guys said, no, they're not. And they also said North Korea is not about to denuclearize. When they talk about denuclearization, do you know what the Koreans mean? They mean the United States will withdraw its nuclear forces, its planes and our ships, and its satellites and all the stuff that we have around North Korea. We'll take them out of the equation. Then the Korean peninsula will be denuclearized. That's what they mean. But these intelligence experts says there is no way that Kim Jong-un is going to sit down with President Trump and give away his nuclear arsenal. He's just not going to do it. John?
Well, Pat, President Trump's decision to pull American troops out of Syria has led to a power struggle among some bad actors in the Middle East. CBN's Chris Mitchell traveled to northeast Syria to learn more about what this might mean for the region and beyond.
After President Trump's announcement of a pullout of U.S. troops, a geopolitical tug-of-war began over northeast Syria. Who wins will determine the future and fate of the Middle East. The main players are a threatening lineup. Turkey's President Erdogan, Russian President Putin, Syrian President Assad, and Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei, all wanting to fill any void left by the exit of U.S. troops. Their target? Leaders of a new, largely democratic government inside northeast Syria. It includes Christians, Arabs, Kurds, and other ethnic groups. They say Trump's surprise decision left them at the mercy of the larger nations around them.
The people in this area are very frightened by the decision of the American pullout because a lot of countries and militias are coveting the region east of the Euphrates to replace the American. Russia, the Assad regime, Iran and Turkey, or the Nusra Front that have declared publicly that they will support Turkey on their attack of the east of the Euphrates.
The decision by President Trump for the withdrawal of the U.S. troops was a decision not at a good time, and it wasn't coordinated with us if we are ready or not ready. This decision had really negative consequences on the Council.
Most see Turkey as their main threat.
Turkey is so dangerous because it has been the old and the new enemy for our people from the before the revolution and now. Erdogan wants to take our area to make it to him, related with the Turkish government.
Then Syria and Russia came courting, hoping to build a relationship. Yet if this new government were to align with Assad and Putin, the regional chess game could increase the threat to Israel. That's because an alliance between this newly formed government and Syria could provide Iran with a much larger route to transport weapons and supplies to Hezbollah in Lebanon. This would complete Iran's desire to build a land bridge to the Mediterranean. Earlier this month, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo explained what happens when the U.S. leaves a power vacuum.
We learned that when America retreats, chaos often follows. When we neglect our friends, resentment builds. And when we partner with our enemies, they advance.
If the Americans go out and there's no agreement on the political front, for sure that's going to cause a lot of chaos in the area, and that chaos will cause a lot of conflict in the region.
While it remains to be seen who will win this tug of war and fill the void here, all indications are whoever prevails will help dictate the future course of the Middle East, Israel, and perhaps the world. It's all part of a new emerging Middle East. We'll have more reports here from northeast Syria, including what these new developments mean for Christians in the region. Some are openly talking about the possibility of another genocide. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, northeast Syria.
Thanks, Chris. Pat, so much hangs in the balance with this current power struggle.
The withdrawal of troops so hastily was not carefully thought out. But here's the deal. The Kurds are the largest people group in the world that don't have their own homeland. They have an independent country called Kurdistan. They have 36 million people in that area. It takes up northern Iraq, it takes up northern Syria, and the Kurds have been our longtime friend. They are pro-democracy, they're pro-American, and they're pro-freedom. Now, all that the president would have to do is to recognize that this is a homeland for the Kurds, just like what was called the Balfour Declaration declared that there should be a homeland for the Jewish people in Palestine. So what the president says is it is the opinion of my administration that we would recognize an independent Kurdistan in northern Iraq and northern Syria, the land that they already are occupying. And that vacuum that Chris was talking about will then be closed. And the next thing the president should do is direct the Secretary of Defense to provide the necessary weapons and arms, and then to tell the other people that an unprovoked attack on this new Kurdistan would be considered an attack on the United States of America. And then we have air support that would be in defense of those Kurds. It would be a brilliant move, and it wouldn't take any American troops, and it wouldn't cost a great deal, because if we walk out of that thing, the resulting chaos is going to be genocide. The Christians will be massacred. The Yazidis who've fought so long against ISIS will be massacred. And particularly the Turks can't wait to destroy the Kurds. They already did it, if you remember, to the Armenians. The Turks are brutal, and they wouldn't hesitate to destroy the Kurds. This is a blow that the president he doesn't have to have the Senate approval. He doesn't have to have the United Nations approval. He doesn't have to have anybody's approval. All he's got to do is say, this is the Trump manifesto, that there is a homeland for the Kurdish people. And all of a sudden, Iran is blocked as they would try to move and have a land bridge all the way to the Mediterranean. You stop that. It keeps the Russians and the Turks from taking over that area, and it blocks Assad and Syria from coming in and butchering them. But for the Christians there, they say, is not President Trump a Christian? Why is he allowing this to happen to us? That's what they said to Chris Mitchell when he was over there. Why is a Christian president allowing this Muslim dictator to destroy us? Why are we allowing the communists from Russia to come in and destroy us? Why? Well, ladies and gentlemen, the answer is we shouldn't ever do it. So if I would urge you on one thing, write the president and say, please stop the genocide of the Christians in Syria and in Iraq. Do something. And this is the easiest course. It is so intelligent, and there's no reason for the president not to do it. He doesn't have to ask anybody's permission. He can do it with a stroke of the pen. He's worried about how does he get money for the wall. He's got to have Congress. How does he do something else? He's got to have Congress. What about shutting down the government? He's got to have Congress. What about giving a State of the Union address? He's got to be invited by Congress. But this time he can do it on his own. And it would be brilliant. The Trump manifesto. Here you now have a president who has said Jerusalem is the capital of Israel and go down in history as the one who did that and recognized that. And then to be the one who provided a homeland for the Kurds with the Trump manifesto, it would be a fabulous thing to go down in history. Whew. So much
Trump
for that.
manifesto.
Wouldn't that be great? I mean, you know, instead of he's the man who built the wall, I mean, like, who cares? And he's the man who had a crooked lawyer working for him and paid off hookers or whatever. I mean, really.
Yeah. Hopefully Trump's watching right now. And he's taking notes.
I wouldn't take book on such a thing, but maybe one of his aides is. All right.
Well, coming up, a Holocaust survivor recalls her father's last words.
I want you to follow the path of love, forgiveness, and tolerance, and never, never let hatred enter your heart.
Hear how a miracle saved this woman from death at Bergen-Belsen, and see how she's gone on to live a life of love. Last Sunday was International Holocaust Remembrance Day, the anniversary of the liberation of the largest Nazi concentration and death camp at Auschwitz-Birkenau on January 27, 1945. But Magda Hertzberger doesn't need a special day to remember the Holocaust. She'll never forget it because she survived it, and she's dedicated her whole life to keep the memories alive of those who perished.
Magda Hertzberger was born in 1926 in Cluj, Romania. She remembers a happy childhood and the principles her parents taught her as a little girl.
I grew up with an Orthodox Jewish religion. My grandfather was a businessman. He was very successful. My father was a manager in a large engine factory. I was an only child to my parents, but we had an extended family, many cousins and many uncles and aunts. I grew up with a great love for Almighty God. My parents instilled in me, and also wonderful principles to be a good person, to be loving.
Magda was 18 when Hitler's troops occupied Romania.
They occupied it in 1944, March 27. After they came in, we were forced, all of us of Jewish faith, to sew on our clothing the six-pointed yellow Star of David, which is the humiliation of our religion. The yellow color symbolized the dirty Jew. And imagine walking on the streets with that a side of discrimination, and there were anti-Semitic elements who could beat you up, who could attack you. From that time on, we lived in fear.
A month later, Magda and her family were exiled to the ghettos on the outskirts of Cluj. Not long after, they were forced into cattle wagons, taking them to Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp, where they were separated through a degrading selection process with several phases. First, the men and women were divided.
My father, in his last words when we separated, was, I want you to follow the path of love, forgiveness, and tolerance. Hang on to the three pillars, strongest pillars of life: faith, hope, and love. And never, never let hatred enter your heart, because hatred is an evil force, and ultimately it will destroy you.
A healthy teenager, Magda was considered useful and was assigned to gather the lifeless bodies and dig graves.
I thought it's a nightmare, and I have to wake up. I couldn't believe that this is happening. It's emotional pain, undescribable, because you realize that it's true. That is true. It is a present which is a nightmare. And then what you have to do in order to survive, to accept it. Now this is the hardest thing. How can you accept something like that, you know? But you have to bring some positivity, some hope into yourself, and say, well, maybe it's not going to last forever.
After 7 weeks in Auschwitz, she was shipped to a second camp in Bremen. Her health declined as she endured forced labor, starvation, and frigid conditions in the winter of 1945. Then she was moved to a third camp in Bergen-Belsen. And by the end of the third week there, Magda was near death.
One day I collapsed by the trunk of an old birch tree, and I prayed to God. I couldn't move anymore, hardly. I couldn't speak anymore. I knew that I'm dying. And I asked God to take my soul to heaven. But on that day, I also said, Almighty God, only you can make a miracle of this sort. I don't know. But if you give me a second chance, I dedicate my whole life to keep alive the memory of all those who perished there and the memory of the Holocaust.
That day, the camp was liberated by the British. A soldier lifted Magda from among the corpses that surrounded her.
And I called him my guardian angel, found me. I was lying surrounded by corpses, and he noticed that I was alive. Maybe I blinked, and he picked me up and took me along to get help.
Magda eventually reunited with her mother. She lived until she was 93. Magda and her husband Eugene immigrated to the U.S. in 1957. She is a former marathon runner, skier, and mountain climber. Eugene is a retired neurosurgeon who practiced for 20 years. The couple, in their 90s, reside in Fountain Hills, Arizona. Magda is a lecturer and author of 14 books, including her autobiography, as well as poetry. She says it's only through God that she has been able to forgive and fulfill her mission to never let the Holocaust be forgotten.
Despite all my suffering and all the horrible things that I experienced, I'm still a loving and forgiving person. My desire for peace, harmony, love, tolerance, forgiveness, and brotherhood on earth is best expressed in one of my prayers, which is enclosed in my book, Almighty God, upon you I call. Don't let evil spirits possess my soul. Don't let hatred strangle my love or despair crush my hope. When anger erupts in my mind, don't let emotion blind my reason. O Lord our God, please disperse the seeds of peace and brotherhood upon the earth as time rolls on the wheels of the universe.
What an amazing woman and an amazing life pack. Can you imagine everything she went through and lived to tell about it?
The thing she's got is something that is so beautiful. I mean, she's willing to forgive the horrors of what those Nazis did to those Jews. But the thing we want to do, ladies and gentlemen, is never forget. We don't forget the Holocaust. We cannot allow something like that ever to happen in our world again. But there are forces that would like to destroy the Jews, and destroy Christians and destroy others who believe in God. And we cannot allow that to happen. But I might say CBN has a special outreach to Holocaust survivors that are now living in Israel, like a woman whose name is Vera. When the Germans invaded her homeland, Vera's family fought back. And today, Vera is still struggling just to survive.
Vera is a widow and Holocaust survivor. Her family escaped the Minsk ghetto to join resistance fighters in the Belarusian wilderness.
There was very little food, and the winters were so cold. Many died in the snow, and there was constant fear of being discovered by the Nazis.
Vera told me that after the war, she married a fellow survivor. She and her husband wanted to leave Belarus, but couldn't get through the Iron Curtain. It wasn't until 1991 they were finally able to move to Israel.
It was a dream to come here, but it was hard to start a new life.
Vera's husband recently died from cancer. Her life got even harder one day when she came home to find the water pipes under her floor had burst.
Water was everywhere. Without my husband, I didn't know what to do. I could never afford the repairs. I was devastated.
So CBN Israel immediately located a contractor, and we covered the entire cost of the repairs.
I was so happy when you told me you were going to fix the pipes and my floor. I had tears of joy. You were my only hope to get it fixed and to have water back in my house. It's a miracle.
We also learned that Vera's oven quit working a few years ago, so we bought and installed a brand new one. Now, we also take her groceries regularly and spend time with her.
What you do for me and the other survivors means the world. You give real support, and it's wonderful to know that someone cares about us. I am so blessed to know people like you.
You see, we care. Those people are not going to go unnoticed. We're going to look after people like Vera. Now, there are millions of people in the world. We can't help them all. But we're reaching out to millions. Operation Blessing, reaching out to millions. World Reach, reaching out to hundreds and hundreds of millions. We reach out all over the world in many different languages and many forms. But what's happening to those Holocaust survivors is just one more outreach of CBN. Now, I have something here called the I Wills of God. Did you hear this?
Yes, I sure did. It's an amazing teaching, you and Scott Ross.
Yeah, we had a marvelous time together. But there's something in the 91st Psalm where God says, here's what I'm going to do. And this is a teaching that I think will touch your life. And we're going to give this to you as our gift when you join the 700 Club. And you say, what does that take? Well, it's just $20 a month. It's 65 cents a day. And, you know, I'm glad Howard Schultz is running for president. God bless him. He's done very well with Starbucks. But you go to a double latte and all that stuff they sell there. I mean, it wouldn't be a thing to. Well, you ever?
$5 now.
Is it $5?
It's like almost $5 now for a latte.
Yeah, 5. And so you do that 3 times, 4 times, and you've got a 700 Club. So either you're going to drink a cup of jacked up coffee, or you're going to help people like Vera. We'll send this to you, the I Wills of God. Call us and say, look, you can count on me as a member of the 700 Club. 1-800-700-7000. Do you go to the? I don't go to Starbucks. I don't drink coffee. I drink tea.
I take the 5th.
All right. Well, I will not put you on the spot there. Whatever. All right.
I'm sort of a coffee snob, though. I like good coffee, so I can't.
I used to be a coffee aficionado, and then one day I was fasting, and I had such a hideous headache. I promised the Lord I'd never, if He'd take the headache away, I'd never touch another drop of coffee, and that's been.
But I have found that coffee helps my headaches, Pat.
Well, yeah, of course it helps your headaches. It's when you stop drinking it.
I know. It's a vicious cycle.
All right. Well, I'm a tea drinker. All right.
Well, still ahead. Your questions, honest answers. Jude says, some years ago, I kissed a lady who was not my wife. Do I need to tell my wife? Pat handles that hot potato coming up. But first, you'll meet Grant Skeldon and see how he's bridging the gap between millennials and the rest of us. The author of The Passion Generation joins us later on today's 700 Club.
Welcome back to Washington for this CBN News break. Democrats on the House Natural Resources Committee are trying to remove the words "so help you God" from the oath taken by witnesses testifying to the panel. Republican Representative Liz Cheney of Wyoming blasted the move, telling Fox News it is incredible but not surprising that the Democrats would try to remove God from committee proceedings in one of their first acts in the majority, adding they really have become the party of Karl Marx. The committee votes on the oath next week. Well, a new Catholic church has just been completed in Cuba. The Parish of the Sacred Heart of Jesus is one of 3 Catholic churches authorized by Cuba as part of a warming between the Vatican and the island's communist government. The building was inaugurated in a ceremony Saturday. Members of St. Lawrence Church in Tampa, Florida, donated $95,000 to the new building, which holds some 200 worshipers and was built on land granted by the state. Well, you can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com. Pat and Wendy will be back with more of the 700 Club right after this.
Well, for most of us over the age of 35, millennials remain sort of a mystery. But you're about to meet a man who's cracked the mystique of what he calls the passion generation. And he knows what he's talking about because he's one of them.
Millennials are probably the least understood group of our day, and the gap between generations is only growing wider. Meet Grant Skeldon. 3 years ago, he founded Initiative Network, an organization that reaches young people when he was only 26 years old. Grant says he not only knows about the problems with his peers, but he's got the solutions too. In his book, The Passion Generation, Grant gives us the foresight to learn from what he calls the most cause-oriented generation and how we can equip them to engage in the greatest mission of all.
Well, please welcome to the 700 Club, Grant Skeldon. Welcome to the show, Grant.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You are a millennial. Please define, for those of us who may not know, exactly what is a millennial. What is the age group that we're talking about here?
Yeah, so someone born between 1980 to 2000 is the Y generation, and then Z generation is actually coming up behind them, so that's anyone in high school.
So millennials,
below.
the cutoff, if you're over 37, you're no longer a millennial.
I believe so, yeah.
Something like that.
An X generation.
Okay, so 20s and 30s is millennials. What do you think is most misunderstood about your generation, the millennials?
I think, the reason I call it the passion generation, I was actually going to call the book The Millennial Malfunction, but people didn't think it was that positive.
No.
But there is a malfunction of communication. I felt like I called it that because the American dream is kind of provide a better life for your kids and even for yourself.
Right.
And sometimes that can be pursuing provision. But I feel like this generation, we're seeing a massive decline of just pursuing some job or career that's going to make money. We're seeing a lot of young people pursue jobs and careers that will make a difference. But sometimes you got to make money so that you can make a difference. And so I think parents sometimes push provision while young adults are trying to pursue passion. And it's really creating, I think, job hopping. The average millennial is on the trajectory to have 14 jobs by the age of 40.
Whoa.
And I think it's because they have anxiety of seeing their friends always pursuing their passions on social media, which in some ways has created OCD in so many ways, which would be obsessive comparison disorder.
Well, so why are millennials, why do you think they are the passion generation?
I think that one of my favorite things about, even misunderstood about millennials, is I think this generation is tired of just going to church. I think they want to be the church. I think they want to not just show up to an event where sometimes I joke that a church sometimes gets dwindled down to 2 people doing 2 things for about 2 hours.
Yeah.
And so you ask someone, how was church? They'll say, worship was awesome. You ask someone, how's church? Oh, the preaching was awesome. But if you really think about church, we are the church, the people are the church. And so as you see this cause-oriented generation, they're actually leaving the cause-oriented organization, the church. And I believe the church is the hope of the world, but we've got to get back to that cause.
So millennials, they want something more than just the status quo of what the other generations have had. They're looking for that deeper meaning of life.
Yeah. Now, I do think they can sometimes pursue it in their own wisdom, which is passion, but sometimes it might be a passion generation, but a loose cannon. I liken millennials to Peter sometimes. He cuts people's ears off. He's falling asleep. He's correcting Jesus. And even sometimes he's getting called Satan. And so I'm not saying millennials with passion alone. That's why I desperately believe that my generation with all its passion needs older generation with all their wisdom. I think the enemy wants to divide us, but we've got to start to unite each other.
And that brings me to my next question, because you talk a lot about the importance of discipleship.
Yeah.
And we don't really do that as much as we think we do we? But you said it was very important in your own life, being discipled.
Yeah, you know, Wendy, I've actually found that the most influential young 20-somethings, if I meet a 20-something, I was just yesterday, I was in California with all these 20-somethings, and if I see someone who's 23 and they have a huge business, or 25 and they have a huge church, every single time it's because they were mentored, they were discipled at a young age. I've never met an influential 20-something that just got there with their own wisdom.
Well, what does effective discipleship actually look like?
That's good. That's a great question. I always want to differentiate mentorship and discipleship. To me, mentorship is if Jesus said, come and meet with me, and said to Peter, hey, let's meet once a week for 3 years. But he didn't do that. He said, come and follow me. And so what the beauty of discipleship is, it's not adding something to your calendar, it's including someone in your calendar. And so it's allowing someone, I say, if you're listening, I would say, include someone in your work life, or maybe in your church life, or your personal life, or your family life. And I give a lot of guidance to that in the book.
Well, where do you think millennials have failed the older generation? Because, I mean, millennials do get criticized a lot. The older generation doesn't feel respected. Where do you think millennials have maybe fallen short?
Man, yeah, my generation has fallen short a lot. I would say in showing honor to the generation that went before me. I think that my mentor really gave me a culture of honor towards generations before us. I don't think we're always the best of actually seeking discipleship or seeking mentorship. Sometimes we can be like judges, where we're just doing what is right in our own eyes and trying to figure out life. I say that we're like Lord of the Flies, young people just growing up on an island, making their own rules. It's not working for us. And so showing honor, seeking wisdom, and even apologizing, because we have fallen short a lot ourselves.
What do you think the church can do, Grant, to get millennials more involved?
Okay, so I actually wanted to show you this. I have a campaign for what I think we should do. It's a red hat. It's not Make America Great Again. It's actually simply Make the Commission Great Again.
Wow.
And I believe that Jesus specifically chose his last words, which should be our first priority. And he said, go and make disciples. And so I believe that we're doing a lot of teaching, we're doing a lot of baptizing, we're doing a lot of the things in the Great Commission, but we're not all making disciples. And as long as we neglect this cause, I think we'll lose the most cause-oriented generation in the world today.
All right, so are you wearing this when you travel?
I actually don't, because people, I feel like I got to show people, hey, that's not what you think.
You know what? I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid.
Make the commission great again.
Wait, it's crooked. Okay, why is it crooked on me? Is my head crooked?
No, you're good.
Okay,
you're great.
So I want to make the commission great again.
Yes.
All right, if I'm not afraid and I'm not a millennial, then you need to wear this now.
No, there's no way. You guys have worked too hard to make my hair look good.
All right. Well, Grant's book is called The Passion Generation. It's available wherever books are sold. You can also hear more from Grant in our social interview on Facebook. Interesting. I wasn't afraid to get my hair messed up, but Grant is. Okay. So
maybe we were an image-driven generation.
So just go to facebook.com/700club. Thank you so much, Grant. God bless you. And we love millennials. All right. Up next, we've got your email. Tim asks, is it okay for a Christian to sue? Your questions, honest answers right after this. Welcome back to the 700 Club. Time for your email. Jude writes in, some years ago, I kissed a lady who was not my wife. I came to my senses subsequently and stayed away from her. I have repented of my misdeeds. Do I need to tell my wife what I did?
You know, the Bible says, greet one another with a holy kiss. Some of the Arabs, they kiss on the mouth. A lot of people are hugging and kissing today. This is a standard form of greeting, kissing on either cheek. In Africa, it's kiss, kiss, kiss on the cheek. It's unbelievable. On a thing like this, I don't think the lady thought as much of it as you are. Really.
You might be right.
Yeah. If I were you, I mean, you want to tell your wife, I mean, you've told the Lord and get on with life, for heaven's sakes. I mean, again, greet one another. I think there are Italians and Greeks and others and Arabs, some of them, who kiss on the mouth rather than on the cheek. And I mean, there's all kinds of kissing going on, and I don't know why you're all hung up on this, but if I were you, I would just say, look, I'm living my life, and you know.
Forgive yourself. I think he needs to forgive himself.
Forgive yourself, and don't make a big deal of it, and go tell your wife. She'll sure think there was something worse than what you think about it, because, you know, it just isn't all that big a deal.
Don't tell her.
Don't tell her. Don't start a problem. Okay.
All right. Tim says, is it okay for a Christian to sue? Pat?
Well, if you read the Bible, you have some of those magistrates say, aren't the courts so open you can do? The one thing you're not supposed to do is sue a brother. You know, that was a thing where they brought their brothers to court, and this was really considered awful. You know, can't you find somebody? Take the least among you to settle your differences. Not the wisest of you, but just get the least among you. But why do we sue people? Well, there are many injustices that go on in the world, and I think the court system and the law is set up for redress of grievances. What if somebody is terribly injured by medical malpractice and they suffer for years? Shouldn't there be some redress? Well, of course. There's nothing wrong as long as, if you have hatred in your heart, though, it'll be like a cancer. So, but is it a sin to sue? The answer is no, it's not. But don't sue a brother or sister in the Lord. All right.
All right, Julie says, Romans 8:16 says, the Spirit himself testifies with our spirit that we are children of God. I've heard both Pat and Gordon reference this verse with regards to a person knowing whether or not he's a child of God. How does one know that he possesses the Holy Spirit needed for salvation?
Well, there are many sins, one of which is now we can know we've passed from death to life, that we love the brothers. There's something that happens when you go, it's like you go across a curtain and all these people suddenly become precious to you. They're dear to you. They're your brothers and sisters in Christ. You'll know that. And the Spirit will bear witness to you. But the Bible will say, here's what you need to do. If you confess with your mouth the Lord Jesus, believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you'll be saved. The Bible is full of things like this. Read those scriptures and then believe them. All right?
Carol says, my veteran husband, age 66, lost 55 pounds in 7 months due to ulcerative colitis. What foods, herbs, or oils can help him? Can you recommend a book for natural cures for the gut?
By sheer coincidence, we have one that was extremely popular called Build a Better Gut. You know, we don't understand. We have what's called a gut biome that has literally trillions of little bacteria that is considered our second brain. And that will control stuff like ulcerative colitis. You can go to a health food store and you can get probiotics, get the kind that are in the refrigerator, and take about 3 of those a day. There are prebiotics, which you can get, and there's things like sauerkraut and things like that, and cabbage and stuff to eat. And I think that you change your diet, but whatever you do, if you got that problem, do not take any artificial sweeteners. Do not drink any, whatever those non-sugar drinks are. There's so many of them, no sugar. Don't drink any of that stuff. Don't take any antibiotics, and let that thing build up, and you'll be amazed what will happen. But this Build a Better Gut will give you you want a book, and here it is. We've got it. So ask for it from CBN, 1-800-700-7000. Build a Better Gut.
It's absolutely free.
It's absolutely free. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Jane says, is it right that a church requires you in writing to commit to give all your tithes and offerings to them or refuse membership? Should a church tell you not to give to any type of ministry but the church itself?
Look, if you've got a good thing going and you can compel people to give you money, by all means, the church has got a good thing going. But should you participate in it? Absolutely not. That's outrageous.
That is outrageous.
Outrageous.
Because, you know, you should have freedom to give to many ministries
if
you
course
want.
you do. And it's the question, it's the body of Christ. We work together as the body of Christ, not just where you have membership. And this is the thing of the tithe belongs to the local church. Well, you know, it's easy to set up a church. You know, any person, you know, Wendy and I can set up a church in a few hours, not any trouble. And they say, well, we're entitled to your tithes. No. That's not the way it's supposed to be. You give as unto the Lord. Amen. Well, we leave you today with today's Power Minute. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in Him. Well, tomorrow, how changing your diet will boost your brain's health. We've got a leading expert on it. The brain doctor is going to join us, and you don't want to miss that. He'll tell you stuff that can change your life. So Wendy and all of us, Pat Robertson, see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.